Stay tuned until the end because we're going to pull a Valentine's Day card, Oracle, Tarot, whatever, for a relationship reading. So stay tuned to get your card.
Nice. What are you drinking?
I have just like a chocolate shake that has like essential vitamins. So it's kind of like a
Mm,
breakfast shake, but I heat it up. So it's my pretend coffee because I quit caffeine. So I don't do
that's
coffee
true.
anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quit caffeine for like a year and then I started drinking it again.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, not because I was like, oh, I really miss caffeine. It was really more, I think it was in the summer and I was really wanting like that sort of iced cappuccino sort of. I didn't want to drink tea in the summer. I was like, I need something, refreshing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So it's funny that we're talking about caffeine and the effects of the body because just yesterday I entered this new workshop and I really like how she pinpointed the nervous system and how we imprint conditioning and fears and kind of that flight or flight mode through our nervous system.
Mm,
Caffeine affects the nervous system and the brain, and it is kind of a neural inhibitor. And so therefore it's just one of the physical ways that we kind of shut down our system. And there's a lot of things in our environment that shut down our systems or make it so that we are more disconnected.
mm,
That's another one of the soul true purposes that we're trying to clear out the old, clear what's not working, clear what doesn't serve, to get more in alignment with our authentic true self. Part of that is, yeah, getting rid of those inhibitors via their physical, emotional inhibitors, mental inhibitors,
mm,
blocking us on our spiritual path. That's how I view imprinting with emotional imprints.
mm.
And that's what I do, usually, or that's what we do, is clearing it from the mental level, those beliefs and blockages and fears with on the mental with consciousness.
Right.
And so it's really cool. She did more of the somatic body. So it was like it was the same version, but just a different level and aspect.
Mm,
And so she brought it down deeper into like how it imprints into the body. And that's obviously the brain is control of the nervous system, right? The
right.
nervous system is like the aftermath, and it can be such a huge, I don't want to use the word imprint again, but stamp. Like it could
Mm-hmm.
just really, really solidify that within the body. And then once that's solidified, that's our new programming. It's going to
Right.
bring those messages back to the brain. And every time that instance or occurrence comes back in our life, the nervous system's going to send it to our brain. We're scared, we're nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not even be something we need to be nervous about, but it's going to send that to the brain. The brain's going to say, oh, well, it's my job to assess this or to respond this way based on how you responded before.
Right. It doesn't
So,
bring new ways
yeah,
of addressing it.
it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to. That's its job, is to
Mm,
function for you. So until you go in, right? And we talked about the settings last
mm-hmm.
episode. Until you go in and you reprogram the settings,
Mm,
get rid of that fear-based belief, maybe do a lot of the grounding meditations and reprogram that nervous system, then you'll be wired with that higher dimensional, like that better
mm.
new program that you want to move forward in life with. And until then, you're just on autopilot
Right.
from what you were programmed in childhood or what you were programmed in a past life. So
Mm-hmm.
it's funny that you brought up the nerve. We were bringing up
Yeah.
the nerve.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's great what you're mentioning. I have been thinking about this too, sort of this shifting from the autopilot. And we talk a lot about being conscious, consciousness, awakening. And it also always seems to bring me back to just making new choices, sort of looking at what you're doing and what you have been doing from observer, not, from an observer standpoint, from a neutral standpoint. And oh, this is always, wait, okay. Zoom does its own thing, eh? it clicks on
Yes.
buttons, like I don't know, spirit like does thumbs up sometimes.
Actually, that was a great affirmation to what you were saying. That was like
Yeah.
literally in the
Like,
moment. That was a sign synchronicity. The angel hit the button. There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
So
how it happened.
yes. No, totally. So it's like, do you exactly, I guess that's all there is to it. It's a kind of like, how are you in control of this, right? Um, do you let the system sort of just run you?
Mhm. Yeah. Are you
Or you,
hijacked?
yes,
Yes.
exactly. I remember this brings me back to last year. I was in therapy and she was talking about she had this great sort of visual. The therapist used to be a stewardess, and she had this little plane and this little, landing board, and she was showing how basically, you reacting the same way to the same thing and making the same choices, it's like always landing on the same sort of path. And it's really
Oh,
solidifying, sort of, you're always making the same choice, always the same choice. And so
yes.
it's kind of
And you
like
get the same outcome.
same outcome every single time, right? And she was like, you're the pilot of this plane. Now you get to decide if you want today to make it land on a different path, right? And sort of build this new neural pathway, right? Build this new way, but you're always in control, you're always the pilot. And so it was
Yeah.
like, it might be hard, because you've never went that way, maybe you never did that route, so it might be hard for you to do it. But if you keep on landing in the same place, you're going to keep on having the same experience, the same outcome. So it makes me think of that, of just how we are in control of our life, and every moment, every choice that we make, every thought that we have. But we often don't know that we have this power. We often don't know that we're
Yes.
in control. Like, I used to not know about this.
Yes.
I think the first time I was exposed to, you are the observer, you're the neutral part of you, was,
Mhm.
I don't know, like 6 7 years ago, when I read the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. That's
I
what
love,
was like,
yes.
oh, I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I am not this voice in my head that's
Yeah.
constantly, you know, being like critical and anxious and so,
Mhm.
charged. I was like, I'm not that person. What do you mean? That was like such
Yeah.
a revelation. And that was the first time for me that I was like, oh, I get to decide. Like, oh my God, this is brand new information for me. That's really what sparked, I think, my awakening. It was that book. It was just realizing, like, that I'm not that voice that I kept hearing my whole life, that was so critical and so judgmental
Yeah.
and so anxious. And so anyway, it just makes me think of, this whole thing of just decide, you get to decide, and your destiny basically is in your hands every single moment of every single day, with every thought and word you say.
It really is. And that's it. That's the key.
Yeah.
It's important for us to label those voices though and
Hmm.
recognize that they're there. But yeah, most of the time, those are not even our thoughts. They're not. It's we're replaying those thoughts and beliefs from people that we admired or looked up to in
Hmm.
childhood or in our younger days. And it's like, and we just accept that programming until we're old enough to make our own revelations, you know, but then we forget that we're in control, and we just keep going with the same autopilot, like you said, and landing on the same strip because that's what's safe. That's what we know.
Yeah.
But you're like, sometimes we can look at it like, yeah, it might be hard to take a different route and land on a different path. Maybe it's a new path that's not trailblazed yet.
Hmm.
But I'd also like to say it might not be hard. It's
Yeah.
just getting rid of that fear of the belief that it's hard. It might actually, we might make the choice and decision, right?
Hmm.
And do it. And then we're like, oh, that was so easy once we've done it.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, that what was I waiting for all this time?
Hmm.
And I think that happens more so than an actual rocky path. I think we make it rocky by our fears. So once we get over that hurdle and we're like, yeah, we're just gonna land it in this new place and we're gonna see what happens.
Hmm.
It's just getting over that initial that fear
Yeah,
and
totally.
then making that decision.
Yeah,
Like you
thank you
said.
for bringing that up. Totally. It's we're more scared of being scared. It's, that
Yes.
saying. It's but this is true. I think a lot of times it's that fear that we hold on to, but then when we actually just, oh, okay, not so bad. But also we have to do the things right over and over again. I feel like we do have to
Yeah.
expose ourselves to new things to get out of our comfort zone too, to know that it
Yes.
is safe to do these things. Because otherwise, if you just go from autopilot for 45 years and then all of a sudden do something
Mhm.
drastic, that might take, have
You,
a toll on you.
yeah, you might have a backlash of fear because now you're self-doubting because you're like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I do this choice?
Yeah.
That you really do have to have that confidence instilled in you, that faith and belief and trust in yourself to be like, yeah, I am going to do this and I'm going to persevere through it. Because that's a lot of times too, is people get stuck in that, okay, they took the leap, but they
Hmm.
want to jump back. Before the
Yeah.
fruition and manifestation even happens, before they see the rewards of that choice, it is a new level, it is a new path, but they need to keep walking. They
Mm.
just they say, oh, I'm going to make the decision. They touch the water, they dip their toes in, but then they don't really commit. So it's like that committing, that perseverance, that and that might seem hard, which
Yeah.
again, those are all gifts. Those are good qualities that you receive on the path, but
And trusting yourself and your intuition, and that is huge. Because
mhm,
if you did make that call, if you made that big choice, that big leap, most likely it's because somewhere deep inside you know that that's for the better. Now,
yeah,
it's like, okay, I have this, intuitively I'm called to do something or to move somewhere. And, I would say perseverance comes with that trust and that faith that it is for a reason. So
mhm,
even though in, day to day, it seems like, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? How is this going to work? Having that trust and faith, not blind, still based in logic, but sort of like having that trust that, yes, I know there's a reason for this. I know that I'm here for a reason. I'm doing this because I've been called to, and I trust that. So that can also
mhm,
help, with perseverance when you're like, oh my God, what did I sign up for? What did I just do? Am I completely,
yeah,
going crazy or what? I feel like that's a good way to keep it. But also I say keep, do it in a logical way, because
mhm,
sometimes it's hard because in this space of trusting your intuition and everything, people might understand it as like do the stupidest shit ever. And like, all right,
yeah,
so
to
you
get out of the
really,
comfort zone,
yeah.
right?
So you really do have to be in touch with yourself in that way of knowing what's just, ego wanting to do something crazy, or if it's really you're intuitively led for something. Right. So that's why I mean sort of based in logic, meaning like, okay, does this make sense for me in the grander scheme of things, or am I just trying to be outrageous here? Right.
Mhm,
So just
yeah,
knowing where that comes from, again, it just comes back to self-awareness, but I find that super important too.
yeah. I spoke with someone about this just yesterday. It's like, yeah, where is the intention coming from? Is what your actions and what you're doing to step out of the norm feeding the ego?
Hmm.
Like, is it truly what is in alignment with your path, or are you doing it out of more of a self-serving thing? I mean, everything is self-serving in a way that
Yeah.
we want to reach our highest good, but it's like, yeah, really getting clear on your intentions and that they're coming from a place of authenticity.
Hmm.
But that's
Yeah.
what's going to make landing on that new path a lot smoother because then you're going to be caught by the divine. You're going to have that divine guidance. You're going to have that assistance. If it's ego that is landing the plane, then you
Or
will
yeah.
probably hit a rocky road, right? Because that's not where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I was going to say, ego or emotional reactivity. There could be
yeah,
that too. I was just thinking now of sort of when I
like
told
fear.
my boss that I'm going to quit my job, she was like, well, is it just because it's been really busy and you're burnt out? I'm like, no, it's more than that. So, she
Yeah.
was really trying to say, is this a decision that you're making because your emotions are so high at this time? They're so like
Uh,
you're having an emotional
Overwhelmed.
reaction, yes,
Yeah.
or is it really because this aligns with what you want to do, right? So just knowing where it comes from again is just, it's so crucial, because sure, somebody can quit their job because they're overwhelmed, but then that's when you're like a month later, like, oh shit, what did I do?
Yeah, you're like, "What was I
Feeling, but
thinking?"
yeah,
Because
like
you
maybe I just
made
needed a
an
vacation,
emotional decision. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, and then it would have been just appropriate to take a break, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I think a lot of us, that is very common, especially in the workplace with the, "Oh, I'm just gonna walk out." Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a fad now, and it's cool, and you just walk out, but it's like, why? Because something just triggered you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're gonna be triggered at work, or why is that triggering you anyways?
Yeah.
Maybe you're gonna keep getting triggered by that no matter where you go until
Mm-hmm.
you really assess what that reaction is coming from within you. And so that's what people don't know. And then they're always reacting and not responding. So they're reacting out of that
Yeah.
triggered state or emotional state or overwhelmed, stressed, nervous state. And then it doesn't fix anything. It's really not fixing anything. They're just really being manipulated by their own mind and body. They're not going to get anywhere that way. And then it just keeps happening. It just keeps happening, I guess, until you fix it, until you recognize it. But people think that they're victims of their environment when really they're victims of their own imprinting.
Mm-hmm.
And all they have to do is reprogram their own, inner, you go inward to do that.
Yeah. And I would say, that's easier said than done. Right.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just a lifelong,
it is.
learning. Not sometimes, I feel like always.
Yeah.
I think it's easy on the online space to say, oh, all you have to do is, do your shadow work and your life will be beautiful. Do your reprogramming, do your meditation, and, everything will be fixed. When in fact, everything is so more complicated than that, because we have complicated it. Um,
Yes.
and it's just this whole healing, I was thinking a lot about that this morning also, like this whole healing trend that's going on. It's sort of these accounts or these people that try to make you believe that by doing this one step or by buying this program, you're completely healed.
Yes.
It really doesn't happen like that. And
Mm,
also, we don't, I don't know since when is our life purpose to heal ourselves. It seems like there's this focus on being healed, right? And it's sort of like, all right, can we first acknowledge the hardships that everybody, goes through, the complicatedness of the human experience, the multi-layers of the human experience,
yes.
and just how much shit there is going on. First, can
Mhm.
we acknowledge that? Second, sure, everybody strives to be better. Everybody strives to improve their lives, improve their well-being, feel better, have better relationships. Yes, I'm all for it. That's why I'm also on the online space. I want to help people with that. But let's not trick people into believing that tomorrow morning after they buy your course, they're going to be 100% healed. Everything will happen and it'll just be heaven on earth.
Yeah.
I've been really thinking about that too, and it's sort of like, what am I putting out there in the world? Am I
Mhm.
making people believe that by reading my 5 posts on Instagram that their lives are all of a sudden going to be all fixed? So I feel like I'm like on a rant or something, but it's been really
No,
like,
I think
I want
the
people to tell the
collective
truth.
is there. Yeah, I feel like that's where a lot of people are right now. Because they are, yeah, the information is getting more popular and it's getting out there, and that's great because now people know the terminology and they're learning to understand the methods and modalities. But it's not a one-time fix all. This is a lifetime journey. And I've been on this journey consciously working my ass off for 20 years, 17 years.
Hmm.
um, and it's still, yeah, I'm still learning because every time you hit a new level or a new plateau, there's more stuff
Hmm.
to acquire and integrate and learn. But I can say that if you don't start, you'll never
Yeah,
know. You'll never.
nothing's gonna change.
But yeah, nothing will ever. And are you really truly happy where you're at? If you
Exactly.
are, then great. But if things are not working out and you're complaining to everyone every day and you're projecting
Hmm.
emotional vomit on everyone else, like you're not
Yes.
happy, then you are the only one that can make that decision to adjust things. And nobody will rescue you, nobody will save you because everyone's dealing with their own stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what a lot of people wait for too, is that knight in shining armor.
Hmm.
But nobody else knows your path. It's all imprinted within you,
Exactly.
your blueprint, and you have to access it. Even though there's been times on my journey that I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm working so hard and I have not seen major results. But I remember, and it is all worth it, but I remember times where there would be a huge release of ego or a huge shift. And even just having that mental freedom of being that much closer to who I truly am and letting go of that which I wasn't, that connection to myself was worth it. Even if it was only 5% with this lesson, 10% with this lesson,
Yes.
it's all coming closer and closer to then embodying who I really, really am to the fullest. And that's ecstasy, that's bliss. And that's what I realized that I want. That's my goal.
Yeah.
But I had to taste a little bit first. You get a little bit. It doesn't all come at once because it would overshock again the nervous system,
Hmm.
right? It would overshock the body. You don't want to break your computer system.
Yeah.
It all is integration, and it's all in divine timing, and it's all when you're ready, and it's a process. It
I
really
was gonna
is.
say, yeah. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
love that we're talking about this because I feel like when I started on this journey, I put too much expectations on myself. And I was like, oh, great. So now I have this information. This means that all of a sudden, you know what I mean? I forgot that it's a process and that it will take time, years, decades, I don't know, a lifelong. Like, we do like, oh, do past life regressions to like heal things from the past life.
Mhm.
Like, dude, this means that we cannot heal everything in one lifetime. It's too much, you know? Like, when did I not make this connection? Yeah, it is a process, and I think there's a lot of yeah, we do put a lot of expectations on our shoulders to say, oh, well, now you have this information, you read that book, go ahead,
Yeah,
apply it all, be better
yeah,
tomorrow, because otherwise, what does this mean? This means I'm not integrating my learnings, and this basically means I'm a failure at healing myself. Right? This could be the mental process
the talk,
when
yeah,
the
the
mental
self-talk.
talk, yeah, the self-talk, when in fact it's like, all right, I can read something today. Good. Maybe in 5 months from now, when it's really time, I will assimilate this and I'm like, oh, I remember I read this. Now I feel it in my
Yes,
body, right? Now I can embody this
yes,
learning. So sometimes it's not now,
yeah,
and we have to stop thinking that every single moment of the day has to be focused on self-healing. How about we have more fun? How about
yeah,
we play games? How about we just go out
that's
there and
part of
we
it.
we go out in nature and we just take a moment to breathe, right?
Yeah, yeah, doing the things that give you joy and connecting with who you truly are versus always reacting or responding
Yeah.
in different ways or trying to always heal. There has to be that balance.
Mhm.
So you're perfect. You're right on where we have to have fun and play too because that is who we truly are. So connecting more to that, what gives us
Mhm.
joy, love, and happiness while simultaneously
Yes.
releasing or taking breaks, resetting the program is all part of it, is all part.
Mhm.
Because then we can integrate what we truly are, what truly gives us joy by being it. We have to access
Yeah.
that too, to remember and and embody that for it to put a new imprint.
Mhm.
So it is both sides and it's all of it. And that's balance. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, for me, I've noticed that it's been cyclical. That's my process. For somebody else, it could be something else. But for me, it's literally months. It's a cycle of months of just not looking at all at things. And then,
Mm.
oh, this happens. Let me address this. And then as I do, more things come up. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, now you're available. Let's do this. And like,
Yeah.
okay, so many things are coming up to the surface. And then it's like, huh, all right, let's put that aside. We've done that. We addressed it, we looked at it, we're aware of it. All right, let's move on. That's been the process for me in the past years.
Yeah. There's always that like pattern and cycle, and we have to honor the cycles of that integration and rest. And just like our bodies need to sleep every night to recover and physically heal the body, our mind, our emotions, we need to take a break. And it's not us being lazy, that's self-care.
Right.
And it's just part of that process. So it is, I think that's how mine has been too. Sometimes it's months before I feel something comes up that I can even work on.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's well, here's the thing, if it's something that's coming up every day, then I'll know that that's going to keep coming till I work on it. Then I work on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I might go through a dark night of the soul, right? And then I might be really, we do always kind of feel that void where, oh, now that it's not there, who am I? What do I
Yeah,
do?
totally.
I'm lost. And then we do, and that's the perfect time to go within and rest, recuperate, and charge up, fill yourself with that which you are. Put that joy in your life. Go out and do things you love, like you said, play and have fun,
Yeah.
because then you're going to fill that void that you just made space for with more of embodying who you truly are. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's going to take you to the next step, stronger and more in a better position to reach that next trigger, if ever it comes.
Yeah, when it comes, I would say when it comes.
When, yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
for
it
sure.
might be a couple months of
Mm-hmm.
bliss, happiness, but then something comes up at the right time where it's meant to be processed, where you're ready to process. And then you just address it as it happens, and that's life, taking it as you go. And I want to roll back to the expectations part because I feel like that was a huge, huge cloud
Mm-hmm.
over my head that I feel like I just released. I think that how we expect things to happen, what we expect, or how things are supposed to go, or whatever, that is a lot of the expectations are programmed. Their conditioning beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
their societal expectations of us. Gosh, we put so much weight on our own shoulders because we are expected to do this or act like this, or
Yeah.
even the masculine, feminine. We have we're box that we're supposed to fit in, and it's just like, ugh, ugh, does that drain our energy and weigh us down?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like releasing that was really helpful because even when we can release that of others, when we release that within ourselves, we can easily release that with others.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, I don't have to be all of this. And you know what? They don't either. They're just humans. And it breeds a lot of more kindness and compassion towards each other. And we all need that. Because I think it's when we are placing expectations on others too. Why
Mm-hmm.
aren't they where I am? Why aren't they at the same place I am? Why are they on, accept where they are on their path? You don't
Yeah.
have to change them. And we think just because we're doing it, they have to
Mm-hmm.
do it. They don't. And so
Yeah.
expectations really, really get us to in that separation phase where we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
things as separate, and we divide. And then we have to divide ourselves from this group. We have to divide ourselves from that person. We have to, that's not the highest good for anyone either.
Yeah, that's not the highest truth. What you're talking about is really this egoic inflation of,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm healed and they're not. So like
Yeah.
I'm way better. I totally know what you're saying. And with, also I want to add that you're totally right. Everybody has their own path and they are where they are on their path and it's perfect. You know,
Mhm.
it makes me think of anecdote when I first started practicing law. So I went into law school because I wanted to help people. Okay. Then
Mm.
the classes, like none of them resonated except for criminal law. I loved criminal law. It was super interesting. Went into, did my internship and started working as a defense attorney. It was very confronting for me because here I was trying to defend these people who had committed crimes. And in my mind, I was like, well, I'm here, I'm trying to help you. And a lot of
Mhm.
these people did not give a shit. Sorry, excuse
Yeah,
my language. Like this was what they were doing.
they
And
just want to get away with it.
no, but not even. They didn't even care. No, no, seriously. They were so laid back. They were like, well, whatever happens. And I'm like, I'm trying to avoid you jail time here, dude. Don't you care? And
Yeah,
they were like, kind of like they were in and out anyway. Like it didn't really matter
yeah.
for them. But for me, I was like, don't you want to help yourself? And that was a huge lesson for me. It's interesting because it came up recently. Then, by the way, I let that career path go after like a year. Because I couldn't do it anymore. But it came back to me because, in the online, space sort of try to offer, tips and tricks and whatever. And just looking at some people are getting messages like, oh, your content is so inspiring for me. But then them not taking action. And in my head, I'm like,
Mhm.
well, kind of like, what's wrong with you? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like you obviously, like you're telling me you're not happy. You're telling me this is inspiring, yet you're not taking action. And it brought me back to these people that I was trying to help. It's sort of like this is just their path. And
Mhm.
when they're ready, they will be ready. It is
Mhm.
not my place to judge whether that should be today or not. Right.
Yeah, right.
So that was a huge sort of lesson for me that it came back. Here I am. I'm
Yeah.
really, really wishing to help you. And then you're not taking it. And, it's sort of, then I went on this whole spiral of, well, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
Really trying, do I really want to help people? Or is this an ego thing?
Mhm.
Right? Of me trying to be like, oh, here I know all these things, and I don't
Yes.
know, try to look like I'm better than somebody else, or you know what I mean? It really sort of brought me back to these thoughts of why am I really doing this in the first place?
Yeah.
And so that was like, so anyways, just to say that everybody has their own path, and just all these things sort of came back to me and really put things in perspective and allowed me more introspection into why I'm really doing what I'm doing.
I love that. I just felt like I went through that last year.
Mm,
Same thing. I was like, why am I doing this? Because it is so discouraging when you put all that energy and all that you want to help, but why do we want to help? Is it the ego? And I had to ask myself the same thing. And then I was like, you know what? It's not that what I'm doing is wrong.
hmm
It's is my path because I want to do it. But finding that deeper rooted intention of how I was doing it,
hmm
how I was showing up. And wasn't more like, was it for the
Right.
ego? And then I think it was in releasing that, then I could show up more authentic
hmm
because it wasn't, again, back to expectations. It wasn't me serving what others expected out of me. It was me serving myself
hmm
and how I wanted to show up, where it's like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And
Yeah.
I and I'd like to say that even showing up authentically you, that's all we're here to do. That's our job. We just put the information out there.
Yeah.
And we might be like the Einsteins or the Leonardo da Vinci's, or it might not even help people in this lifetime.
hmm
That's what I really
Yeah.
thought about. You know what? Maybe 20,000 centuries from now, it helps that one person that then helps a million. And that's what it's all about. It's not to self serve my glory in this lifetime.
Right.
I may never be respected or appreciated for who I am in this lifetime. And I don't give a shit because that's the
hmm
ego. The ego wants the
Right.
praise and glory and all that. I'm here to plant the damn seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when I came up with that realization, I moved more in my truth, and I feel like it's more grounded,
Mm.
and I can stand stronger. I feel like that's where I wanted to that's where I wanted to root from. I had to root from that.
Yeah, it really comes back to doing everything with intention. And the intention should be a higher purpose, higher good for you and for everybody else. And like you say, we just don't know how it's going to affect people. Now I'm like, I'm just putting this out here because it served me. You do what you want with it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to influence you to make you think that my way is the best way or whatever it is. This has served me. I'm putting it
Mhm,
out there. And I know, like you, I know I'm doing this because it's part of my path.
mhm.
There's something, it's not even because this is the easiest path.
Yeah.
It's just,
No, this is not.
it would have been easier to keep a 9 to 5 and to just not
Yes,
have to think. It would have been much easier. I feel deep inside, I feel like I have to do this. And
yes.
I feel like I have this, sort of teacher archetype that wants to speak and wants to take more space in my life at this moment. And
Yeah.
I'm going to allow it. Now, as a teacher in class, we all were students. We know that some of the
Yes.
students are like I know nowadays they're gonna be on their phones, not give a
Yeah.
shit about what you're talking about. And some people will hear you and it will just pass by,
They'll kind of,
but
yeah,
because I remember I had some teachers that, maybe they said one thing and years later I remembered and it
yeah,
touched me. So
yep,
for me, it's like, this is my attitude now. I'm like,
yeah,
I will be that person to just speak. And if it resonates, good. If it, affects you in any way, I hope it's a good way,
yeah.
and take what you want from me.
Nobody can see things the way that you see them, and
Hmm.
nobody experiences it the way that you experience. So,
Yeah.
what good does it do to hold it in, right? Does it do anyone any good? You can hold in all the secrets that you've learned and all the universe,
Yeah.
but it's like, but yeah, if you share it, it might it's like paying it forward. It might
Hmm.
just help the next person that is going through exactly what you went through.
Yeah. Just, I'm thinking if my story can help somebody good, then maybe that will be my sole purpose for helping that one person. And,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's why we signed up for. Um,
Yeah.
it's as simple as that of not
Yeah.
knowing, in a way it's trusting, like we said in the beginning, like just trusting that, this path is here for a reason. And there's, just having faith that in the end it will all just work out and
Yeah.
humbly walking on the path.
And then going back to what you said is even if it's our mission, even if it's our path, it doesn't have to be that's our sole purpose.
Yeah.
We're here to have fun too.
Hmm.
So have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy life. You're here for just a moment in this body. You might have a different one next time around.
Yeah.
So don't forget to have fun too and enjoy life. It doesn't have to always be for serving everyone's highest good. Part of serving everyone's highest good is you serving your highest
Yeah.
good and making yourself happy. Because when you resonate at that energy and that level of joy and love and
Mm.
peace, people feel that. So
Yeah.
it's almost even effortless. You don't have to even try to do what, again, the expectation of what our purpose
Hmm.
is. Lose the expectation of having what is my purpose and just do what you love, and that's your purpose.
I was thinking about that too, and sort of like there's too much expectation on purpose. There's too much, um, I have to find my purpose. I
Yeah.
must find
And then
it.
we lose the joy in it, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah,
joyful.
exactly. Because it becomes a business. It becomes a
Yeah.
to-do, right?
It becomes work. It becomes
It
work
becomes work.
in our
Hmm.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that changes the energy of everything
Hmm.
because then we make it a struggle. Anything worth anything takes work. It's like one of those other conditioned beliefs, like
Yeah.
anything worth anything. Oh, you need to blood and sweat. You
Hmm.
need to pay with blood and sweat. And I'm like, oh God, that's like 50 years ago.
I'm thinking now of, I did a reading a while ago, and it sort of what came through was that part of this person's purpose was really just being a loving friend.
And
That's not blood, sweat, and tears.
yeah, I mean, that's what they're good at, and that gives them joy, and it also gives you joy.
Exactly. So it could
Yeah,
be as simple as that.
easy, easy. Did you want to do a card reading today?
Oh, we can do it. Sure.
It could be like, we'll pull a
A
card for this week for
relationship.
Valentine's. Yes,
Valentine's Day. Let's
the
do a
Valentine.
relationship. Let's
So
do it. What do you
now we'll
have?
pull a card. I've got, okay, so I am going back to my traditional. I felt called to do my Shadowscape.
Oh,
So
what
it
is
is,
this?
it's a very whimsical, beautiful, romantic looking one. So it is very fitting, I think, for a
Nice.
relationship. And it could be, you guys, relationships with coworkers, relationships with your family, relationship with a loved
yourself.
one, with yourself. So this is all about diving deeper into what is needed, what is necessary for you at this time to connect better with these relationships. All right. See, we're shuffling right in front of you. They're not pre-planned. These
No.
are organically intuitive. These are always fun too. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Well, this kind of goes with today, I guess. 5 of Swords.
Okay.
Of course, anything that I pull is going to be mental. All swords, mind, air. What I see with the 5 is change. It's always like 5 is kind of moving into a different place from that like 2D stability. You're getting now into this extra level of this 5D. Again, like that mental space. But when I see the 5 of Swords, it's almost like, are you still at peace or are you still fighting with yourself? Because a lot of the like 5 of Swords is it's self-competition, I'm feeling. Like you're fighting, but look, there's nobody there. He's not fighting, he's fighting like these aspects. Almost like messages or ravens from like beyond. It's these shadow aspects of the self. So I think we were kind of talking about that. A lot of the things is internal and reprogramming and working with our own imprint and then our own expectations. So a lot of that is finding and discovering those changes that you need to make within your own. Because half of the time we are our own worst enemy. We are our own pressure, our own expectations, our own, we're the ones that are doing all of that, and we're the only ones that can change that, so we don't feel that anymore. So
the deck that I'm reading from today is the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell, a fan favorite, I think.
yes.
And the card that I pulled is Your Life is a Canva. Artist, manifestation, creative accountability. This is the card.
That is beautiful.
It is, and I wanted to read the Starseed Soul Inquiry, and it says, what are you being called to create in your life? And so in this aspect of relationships, I feel like this card is really asking us to sort of craft the relationships that we want and that we desire. It makes me think of, this idea that if there's something in your life currently, in your relationships with anybody or with yourself, that doesn't quite seem right, that you're always the artist behind the masterpiece, right? So you're always in control. You're always, you have accountability as to how this relationship presents itself to you and how it is and how you're being treated and how you treat others. And so it's kind of like you're the designer of all your relationships and you're the artist behind it. And just in this way, like we were talking today about, I feel like we did talk about accountability, in a way. And it's sort of like taking accountability for how we show up and how our relationships are in life, knowing that we always have the power to decide if, something fits or doesn't fit with us, and not feeling like this little, you know, victim or puppet behind the scenes, that we are actually in control of how things present themselves to us and how we react to everything else. And so I feel like this card is really teaching us to take control of the relationships that we have going on in our lives and ourselves. Like I was talking about, my inner critic. It's sort of like, oh, when I understood that I was not that inner critic and I actually took control of my inner dialogue, um, things were easier for me. And so in this way, this card is asking us to do that, and just to realize that we have this power to go within and just craft, our reality as we wish. I think
Yes.
it's a great card.
I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are the artists, and our
Yeah.
life is the canvas, and we can use all the colors we want.